A warm welcome back. This is the news review segment on the AM show. And we're joined by our guest. He is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. His name, Dr. Kwame Asante. Doc, you would have to unmute, Doc, so we can hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me, Ben?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning to our listeners and viewers as well.
Right. So we have a stack of papers. We'll get into them as much as we can, but let's start with your thoughts for us this morning.
Right. I'll begin with looking at the government policy, the new incoming government policy of within the 120 days bracket that he wants to undertake a few things, including implementing the ORA, that is Operation Recover Loot. Yes, all loots, yeah. I think it's a good thing, and I support the incoming government. Political officers are giving to people with trust that they will come and manage affairs on our behalf. And it is normal. If you read our constitution, which we have appended our signature to, that we believe in a lot of principles, including probity, accountability, and the rest of them. And tied to that, we are also implementers of the World Bank policy of good governance, which requires that at all times we should ensure probity and transparency. And these are the canons by which you can measure any government with the title or any government operating under the umbrella of good governance. So on that score, I'll urge the government to go ahead and then begin to look out for various acts of malfeasance, and then begin to call people to answer questions on that. And I think for a good starting point should be the cathedral that the Shraj in recent time has done a beautiful work on it. They can run with it, and for us to know where it went wrong, so that we'll be able to strengthen the frontiers of our democracy and the governance system that we have in this country. This is a very simple message for the incoming government.
Well, thank you very much for that succinct message. And especially as you talk about oral, Operation Recover or Loot, of course, we cannot confirm, but I've seen images purporting that some 17 caches, boxes of gold were being attempted, or there was an attempt to smuggle them outside and all that, and that supposedly some team had stopped them, purportedly from the NDC. All of these make for interesting times, but we'll see how that story develops. I don't know whether you've caught wind of that video. Of course, we cannot establish full veracity of it, but Operation Recover or Loot, from some of the calls we've got in the course of the week, even yesterday, people want, in fact, some would say that, look, we don't even care about their going to jail, though both can happen. Prison terms and then recovery of sums lost to the state. But they are more interested in those sums being recovered and then used practically for the benefit of Ghanaians. So I guess we are all in consonance with that. And the former president said that, look, if you've not done anything that, makes you dirty, I believe Malik Basintali reiterated that, there's nothing to fear. But if you have, then you'll have everything to fear. So that is that. Asem de Nasem Beko. Let's get into the papers, Doc. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. Prioritize development, leave good legacy. Yagbongura advises Mahama. Then Finance Minister will lay expenditure in advance of appropriation. That's according to Che Mensa Bonsu, and he's been assuring that, yesterday there was a standoff. The Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, should have done this, but twice now there has been a no-show, if you like, and some have suggested that it is because the other side, the minority, which will soon be the majority, is also not playing ball when it comes to tax waivers and the payments for certain, matters of state that the current administration wants to go through Parliament. Well, police probe fire that destroyed Ablikuma North electoral materials, and yesterday we brought you live coverage of that devastating fire at the Kwashim and Klasro schools. There's also Bui Power Authority on the back page, commissions 50 megawatt solar power plant in Yendi, and NRSA urges drivers to reduce road crashes in Yuletide. So I'll start from the back page, actually. The National Road Safety Authority has called on drivers and other relevant stakeholders to play their roles efficiently to reduce road carnage in the country during the Yuletide. It identified the various stakeholders as the law enforcers, drivers and passengers who have a crucial role to play in ensuring safety on the roads. The call was made at the launch of a road safety campaign ahead of the Christmas and New Year festivities at Bonso in the Ebuakwa South Municipality in the Eastern region. Christened Operation Stay Alive Comply, the campaign urged drivers and other road users to be disciplined on the road and also obey road traffic regulations to ensure that no lives were lost through accidents. Here, the target group for me will be passengers. I have seen instances. In fact, there was a time where someone, a trotro driver, crossed me in a way that if I were not being extremely careful, would have bumped into each other. And when I went out and accosted him, he rained insults on me. That's fine. I mean, I don't mind. But I asked the passengers, you are sitting in here, you are not saying anything, and the driver is driving like this. Do you not realize that if there's an accident, you will be affected? And they were all quiet. So sometimes that's the problem. The passengers who say nothing, and you may end up in a very troubling situation, which is irreversible. So for me, that's my little bit. Then a 50 megawatt peak solar power plant has been commissioned at Galgu, a farming community in the Yendi municipality in the northern region, to boost electricity supply to the municipality and the entire Eastern Corridor enclave. The $59 million plant, constructed by the Bui Power Authority, is designed to address the strain on existing power transmission infrastructure and reduce the likelihood of power outages and voltage fluctuations. This is good news. We know about the NETCO, and we know about ECG and the VRA and all those in the power supply chain, the IPPs. But recently, we've had those, not just recently, it's been a while, but again, we are facing power issues. And if this comes to at least help in a way, sustain the Eastern Corridor area, sustain the northern belt of the country, that, of course, could minimize the pressure on the Akosombo Dam and other infrastructure. I would have you react on these two stories if you have any thoughts quickly before I get into other stories. Doc.
I'll begin with road crashes. This phenomenon has been with us for years, and we hope and pray that this year we'll do well to record very little or nothing at all. My wish is that if we could record nothing at all in terms of road crashes, it will be great in this country, because it's been a difficult thing for us. Every time these messages go out there, but people defy them and do the odd things and create problems for us. We want our people alive, and we want those who are careless in this industry, I'm talking about the road users, to be wary of this and then stay alive. Ghana needs them. I want to look at the solar power program. It's a beautiful program, and I want it to be sustained and then extended to other sectors of the Ghanaian economy. For instance, universities and other schools. Imagine we begin to pilot this project in the universities. It's going to save us a lot of money, and then it reduces the pressure that is brought to the national grid. So I will urge stakeholders to begin to think outside the box and then support this cause, particularly in the area of government schools, universities, and other institutions.
All right. Let's get into some of the other stories. Prioritize development, leave good legacy. Yagbonwura advises Mahama. And Yagbongura Tumtumba Boresa II has urged President-elect John Dramani Mahama to prioritize the country's development and strive for a good name and a lasting legacy. The call to action was conveyed through a delegation of chiefs from the Gonja traditional area who visited the president-elect at his office in Accra yesterday to congratulate him on his victory in the December 7 election. The delegation included the Damangowura Seidu Kelly Boresa I, Mankpangwura Anchode Kwembiwura Bismarck Ndefeso Bambanya I, Yapeiwura Abi Zakaria, and the chief linguist of the Yagbongwura, Adam. Quoting him, he says, "We came to congratulate that is the Yagbongwura's son, on his victory in the election, and to also thank him for being present at the funeral of that is the Yagbongwura's late mother," that Damangowura Boresa said. He said the Yagbongwura knew the president-elect to be a peace-loving person who would move the nation forward, and that he wants him to focus on development so that at the end of his tenure, he will make a good name for himself, which is what the people of Gonjaland stand for, Damangowura Boresa said. So that's it. That's the charge to incoming President John Dramani Mahama. Let me go now to page 13 and continue from there. All right, here we are. Finance Minister will lay expenditure in advance of appropriation. That's the story there. And the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu, has given assurance that the Minister of Finance will present the expenditure in advance of appropriation to Parliament this week for members to approve the salaries of public sector workers for January to March 2025. He said Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam first presented the document to the House ahead of the conduct of the December 7 polls, when the leader of government business pleaded that, quote, "we should have business transacted on that." However, Dr. Adam had to withdraw the document from Parliament following the quibble that ensued over which side constituted the majority. And so he adds, "So let it not be stated for the record that the ruling administration is failing in its duty, as this is a palpable untruth." But we also know that there have been two other opportunities for the finance minister to do this, and he's been nowhere to be found. Well, that's another story. And let me end with this one and then come back to you. Police probe fire that destroyed Ablekuma North electoral materials. And the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana National Fire Service are investigating a fire outbreak that ravaged parts of the Kwashiman cluster of schools in Accra in the early hours of yesterday. The fire destroyed the ballot boxes of the December 7, 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections for the Ablekuma North constituency. The public classroom of basic schools is where the ballot boxes of the elections for the Ablekuma North constituency were being kept. And the results of that constituency's parliamentary contest are part of the few still in dispute, with the Electoral Commission announcing an intention to recollate the results of the parliamentary election in that constituency. And guess what, Doc? That's where you would have that tussle. Indeed, some mechanic who engaged some three gentlemen who were passing through. He asked them what they were doing, and they said, oh, they were just passing through towards the school. And they were holding something. He didn't know what. Shortly afterwards, there was some sort of explosion. The fire broke out at around 1 a.m. And the library of the Kwashiman cluster of schools, the ICT lab, the science lab were all affected. In fact, students were due to sit exams yesterday. They were not able to do so on the back of this. And I think it's Irabna Obin, who was of the NDC, who was declared winner there. But it was contested. Now, the ballots have been burnt. Your take?
I think it's very unfortunate. This problem would have averted this if the planning that went into this had taken into consideration the right place to place this. Why do you put such an important document in a classroom that is going to be used by students? That is no. And
but you know that some of these voting centers, the polling centers, are in these places. So I guess it was the closest place. I suppose it may have been a station itself, and that was why they merely they put it there. But I agree with you to the extent that it could have been moved elsewhere, but it was left there.
Exactly so.
And
exactly.
Yeah.
So because after the the declaration at the polls, at the polling stations. The next place, you could have moved it and then have a secured place to put this thing. But these classrooms, you and I know that they are not that fortified to, support an exercise such of this nature. So it creates a difficulty for me to understand why they kept it there, because anything would definitely happen there. And because of the less security structures that are put in there, is going to create a problem. And I think that going forward, we should factor these things into the calculation of election management process so that we get the basis right. Because all these things are things that affect the quality of our elections one way or the other. Because you want to preserve the ballots at all times so that when the court even want them, we can produce them for that. So I think that is no. Yes. Double Kuma, that is the double. Then the standoff in Parliament. Right. Yeah, about the budget and the rest of them.
The mini budget, yes.
The mini budgets. I listened to some exchanges on your network about MPP person and NDC. I was so surprised that the outgoing government want to tie or create a certain conditions for the incoming government to fulfill before this mini budget is passed. That is no. I don't get it, because if you look at the issue of tax waivers, who is dying that we need to waive taxes for him to survive? There are more, important issues we can deal with. And if the tax waivers are anything to go, but the next administration can look at it. So I am very much in support of those who argue that, yes, we can put this thing aside and then work on the budgets so that people will get paid and the rest of them. That is more critical. So for the gentleman to say that if you do ABC, we can also do this, is no. Parliament work based on consensus. So at all point in time, members are reminded that their work is based on consensus, and anything outside it will undermine the interests of the state. And I know they are much alive to this more than my good self. So they should do the needful and get the basics right.
Doc, a quick one. This 8th Parliament, especially because of its knife-edge majority and also a speaker coming from the other side, by the other side I mean the opposition, has been a bit rancorous. I feel Speaker Bagbin has been one of the finest because of having to manage this unprecedented situation. But that rancor, we still see it, even at the dying embers of this 8th Parliament. Do you think the 9th Parliament will be any better simply because one side is going to have an overwhelming majority? Do you think so?
Obviously, the numbers will also minimize the problem that we are having. Because if you want to drag your feet, to what extent can you do that? More so, as a minority group, I know that there are certain bills that you require by all means members of the minority to be part, particularly when you are dealing with finance and all that. But remember, if your numbers are small and you want to take certain intransigent position, obviously you are going to have your fingers burned and it's going to affect you. You need to be able to demonstrate leadership in Parliament so that you get the support. And by support, I mean that if your numbers are small, you rely more on the few people who are in Parliament and those outside Parliament. Remember when MPP and other 3 political parties boycotted the 1992 elections, when they went to Parliament in 1993, remember there was no opposition except 2 independent members of Parliament. But they work strongly from outside Parliament, and people supported and all that. So if they're going to drag their feet and then play a game in such a way that is going to undermine the work of Parliament, the forces outside will always whip them to line.
Thank you for those thoughts. I'll just do these quickly, some foreign stories. Ukraine kills senior Russian general. Sources in Kiev say Ukraine killed a Russian general who died in an explosion in Moscow on Tuesday morning. I actually saw the BBC reporting on this at the very spot where he was allegedly killed. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov was at the entrance to a residential block when a device hidden in an electronic scooter went off. Sources in the Ukrainian security services told the BBC Kirillov was a legitimate target. Now, why was he killed? He was accused of using chemical weapons in Ukraine. And that is why he was targeted. And that's quite a blow to Russia. 7.3 magnitude earthquake causes damage in Vanuatu, and a powerful magnitude 7.3 earthquake struck just off the coast of Vanuatu on Tuesday, causing widespread destruction in the South Pacific island nation as the injured began arriving at a hospital and unconfirmed reports of casualties emerged. If you'd like to grab further details, you can get into that story. I think I saw something on, well, there's an article. There's page 16. We are handing over strong economy, according to the finance minister. But the former president, John Dramani Mahama, has said that the claims by the finance minister and the president that they are handing over a strong economy are not factual, that they are baseless. That's what he has been saying. And page 17, post-election reflections, electoral competition and the future of Ghana's democracy. Page 19, electorate expects accountability. And now more than ever, I think politicians are realizing that you can't come and have a field day with the ordinary Ghanaian. You bit too simbre, you bit too sebayre. So if you come and you think you can toy with our mandate, we'll show you at the right time that we are the bosses of the game. Can I move on to the Daily Guide newspaper, or do you have a brief comment?
Let me touch on accountability story, then you can move on. Issue of accountability is critical in any governance process because people give you their mandate. You have to account for the stewardship of your office. Your actions, you have to explain. Even your inactions, they are all part. Remember, actions and inactions constitute what we call public policy. What government decide to do or not to do. So once you are the rep of government, your actions are as important as inactions, and you need to render the stewardship of your office. It's a normal practice. Right. It is no witch hunt. It is nothing more than what? An accountability principle enshrined in our constitution and supported by the good governance concept.
Right. The Daily Guide newspaper, EC ballot boxes set on fire at Kwashiman School. We've already delved into that story. And that also reminds me, in the Ashanti region, there was another fire in a market with watermelon sellers, people who sell apples and grapes and all of that. I mean, this would be a crushing blow, especially at this time of year, where you want some nokofio to take care of the family, and this happens. But I also don't get the logic of fires. When I started working here at the multimedia group, some colleagues even teased me because I was out there reporting on a number of fires, starting from somewhere in Odona, and then you would go to Kantamanto and many other places. Every year, it's almost like a ritual. There must be fire in some marketplaces, and it's consistent practically every year. There are these fires. Don't we realize the situation, what is going on? Sometimes these markets are too compact, too many people, and the least bit, and you have a fire ravaging so much. I don't know. And then in the end, we'll say, oh, abayin bebwaye. But how can we keep on doing this? I don't get it. I don't. I simply don't get it. But anyway.
Those who manage these things on our behalf are sleeping on their jobs, simply so. Because if we are supposed to enforce the rule rigidly, right, we are not going to get some of these occurrences almost every year. No. They are simply sleeping on their jobs. That's all.
All right. Nana Outdoors new foreign affairs complex. Parliament House delay in 3-month budget approval threatens transition. We've delved into that, so I'll not go back there. GAF arrests, that's the Ghana Armed Forces, arrests protocol recruitment scammer. And this one is a major problem. I'll get into that story. But let me start from page 3. President Akufo-Addo has commissioned a newly constructed office complex annex at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Accra. Unveiling the office complex at a colorful ceremony yesterday, the president said it, quote, represents a bold statement of Ghana's devotion to fostering diplomacy and enhancing the capacity of our foreign service. It will provide the ministry with the facilities it needs to continue shaping and implementing Ghana's foreign policy effectively. As I cut the ribbon officially to commission this building, Let us rededicate ourselves to the service of our nation. Let this new facility inspire greater productivity, innovation, and a renewed sense of purpose. That's what Mr. President said in that regard, which also reminds me of what has happened in the sub-region in respect of the 3 countries that have broken away from ECOWAS, now becoming official. They are no longer members. They are seeking to trade among one another or themselves, trade among themselves. They are hoping to give visa-free travel among them. I think it's becoming problematic because ECOWAS, in fact, should have been doing some of these things that these 3 countries, though you can call them the problem children if you want, but they are doing certain things that ECOWAS should have done, you know, visa-free travel, ease of business. But trust me, sometimes it's just something else. Then let me go to that other story before I take your reactions. Page 6. That's where I will go now. The Ghana Armed Forces has arrested a man linked to a viral video in which he falsely presents himself as a soldier. The individual, identified as Alex Kobina, was filmed wearing a Ghana Navy vest and displaying military items while making alarming claims about the administration's intentions regarding military personnel. In the video, Kobina alleges that President-elect John Dramani Mahama plans to dismiss all soldiers recruited through protocol means. His claims have raised concerns within the military community and prompted further investigation. A press statement from the Ghana Armed Forces revealed that an investigation into Kobina's social media activity uncovered multiple videos of him wearing a military attire and falsely claiming to be a member of the armed forces. But I see a lot of these on social media, Facebook, and people purportedly recruiting. You would assume that people would see through it and realize they are fake. And even the added layer about dismissing, or that definitely can't be true. Any reactions?
Yes, I think I support the position of the Ghana Armed Forces, the right position to set the record straight. And I sometimes wonder why people will get the courage to, deceive public into believing that they are with that institution, which they are not.
And
it is an institution.
How did he get the attire, the uniform? How did he get the other tools that he was wielding, showing that he was a member of the armed forces or the Navy, when in fact he is not? We should ask all those questions.
Yeah, that's where the problem is. Is it so easy to be able to assess them? And from look of things, you realize that criminals now have found ways of getting these things. But I like the position of the armed forces. I'm sure they will extend the investigation into some of these things and deal with those criminals in there. If there are people in there who supply them, obviously they will be found out. I trust the armed forces. If you are close to the armed forces, you know what, when they are serious about something, you know what it means. But it should be a warning to the public that anybody who goes on that route, you'll be found out. It's just a matter of time. The issue of the new Foreign Affairs office complex, good thing. But as you rightly said, we want to see the ministry doing things that will bring honor and glory to our country and help us to stem the tide of all, diplomatic problems that we have within the sub-region and beyond. We expect the ministry to continue to be a good ambassador of the country and to help us to deal with some of the lingering challenges that have so far bedeviled the sub-region and Africa in general.
Right. There's also the story on the international front. France National Assembly President reaffirms support for Morocco's sovereignty over Sahara, and I know that would be interesting to you, the Sahara area and time immemorial, the status. Then Pope Francis reveals 2 attempts on his life during 2021 visit to Iraq. There's also on the entertainment pages, God delayed my success for a purpose. That's according to Tiwa Savage. There's also Familia's management speaks after UK show mishap. And then restore water to Kumasi customers. PURC directs Ghana Water Company Limited. Did you get to hear of that story where some officials of the Ghana Water Company Limited in Kumasi were disgruntled, and they said that their building had been pulled down. Not their building, state building, by the way. And on the back of that, they shut water to the Kumasi area, and people were without water. It was a pretty weird development. I don't know whether you came across that story.
No, I'm not aware of that. But if that's the case, I mean, very, very wrong, because water is life. How do you deny people water? Right. I was always telling my students that ever since I stepped foot in Accra here in 1986, most of the places I've lived, I've lived without water.
Yeah.
I mean, Dansuma those days, Adenta, and all that. And each of these places I live about 10 years, Dansuma 2 times 20 years, Adenta, and the rest of them. No water. Yeah. There was a time, you recall, Professor Mills was announcing that the Adenta problem relative to water was over, only to find out that water was a problem in Adenta. We on a more serious note, we want our stakeholders, those who manage these things on our behalf, to be able to do the needful. People need water. I have seen certain places in Accra here where people are fetching water, strictly speaking, from gutters and all that.
Yeah.
And I've gone there to see it, and I said, come on, in this age and time, you don't expect this to be consumed by any human being, not even animals. So we must do the proper thing and get people water. People are ready to pay. If there are problems with the water distribution system, let's fix it. And now I will urge the government, the new government, to tackle the issue of Galamsey so that the effect of Galamsey on water will also be addressed.
Well, that's actually an issue we're discussing right here this morning. It's our first big story, and we'll be getting into that. The coalition against Galamsey and other moves. You remember the petition and that, in fact, the Galamsey Pact that Dr. Ken Ashigbe spearheaded. We'll be getting into those, details on the show this morning. So the conversation continues. The Daily Searchlight.
I'm not taking the wind out of your sail.
Right.
If that conversation, you realize, look at the voting pattern that occurred in Western Region, for instance.
Right.
The chiefs before the election assembled and told John Mahama that when you come, you must fix our water problem for us. It is affecting Pra and then eventually affecting the sea. We go to fishing, we get nothing. And you saw the voting pattern, 17 constituencies, MPP lost 15. One of the reasons would definitely be what Galamsey, which the government turn a blind eye to. That's the effects for that.
That would be an interesting prognosis, actually, because you speak to members of the MPP, and I remember interacting with Nana Komia, and he said, oh, well, we tried tackling Galamsey, and, there was pushback in the 2020 election. So it appeared the people were not in support of it, and because of that, we lost certain constituencies. So there was the rhetoric that leave them and let them do what they're doing, and that's how we'll secure votes. If that were true, they wouldn't have bled as badly in the Western
But that is a bad governance practice, because you should serve the public interest at all times. It doesn't matter the pushback. No.
Right.
Otherwise, there's no point giving our mandate to people to manage on our behalf. We can do it ourselves. But it's for a good reason that we give it to them and arm them with the power of making laws and enforcing them. That's state capacity relative to what? Regulatory capacity of the state. That I disagree.
All right. As we get ready to wind down, just some headlines. Mahama cancel betting tax now. Ashaiman youth demand. And scandal over 10,000 fiber optic cable cuts reported across Ghana. Veep Baumia to grace Parliament's Festival of Nine Lessons and Carols. That would be good. It would be good to see the second gentleman. I've not seen him in a while after the elections and after his concession. It would be good to see him, coming out again and moving on. President Albert Kwabena Jumfor, a transformative leader in Ghanaian journalism. There's talk about that there as well. And then there's the overseer, an easy calm at Cocoa Marketing Company as pro-NPP officers push to maintain top positions. And December 7 was a people's revolution, Dr. Ato Forson says. No more fair weather friends. Mahama reflects on 2016 loss as lobbying for government positions intensifies. Do you have any thoughts on these? Fair weather friends,
Yes.
lobbying for positions, and then an easy calm at Cocoa Marketing Company as the paper alleges that pro-NPP officers push to maintain top positions. Your thoughts?
Yes, I'll look at the December 7 election, people's revolution, indeed. If you govern and you misgovern, people will tell you that power emanates from the people, not any government.
Right.
And that message the good people of this country send to this government, that enough of what the bad governance, enough of the public anger that they were creating and all that. And that, look, if you manage any public office, remember that the source of authority is the people. So if you shortchange the people and they get opportunity, they will show you the door. I am happy that the people of this country have taught this government this lesson. It should be a learning curve for future government, so that anybody who crosses us will just keep quiet. Those who will talk, but on the day of election, you will see our anger.
All right. Daily Analyst, we are handing over a strong economy, according to the finance minister. I'm still at post. Captain Koda clears the air. He is head of the president's security detail. Peaceful 2024 polls. NDC Deputy General Secretary commends police leadership. I'm talking about Mustafa Gbande. Mahama declares war on corruption. And Mr. President, let's do this. Ghana to lose 22 billion Ghana cedis in revenue. And I'm saying Mr. President-elect, actually, because I don't know how well corruption has been tackled in this current administration. And it's a wrap. Any final thoughts for us, Dr. Kwame Asante?
Yeah. Corruption is one of the problems that have been with us since time immemorial. And we try to deal with it. And in no time, we also suffer setbacks. Most of these problems have been self-inflicted. And we believe that if you have a government that has the political will, we should be able to at least reduce corruption to the barest minimum, if not to eliminate it at all. But governments have had field days, and they've not been able to handle this issue very well. And when you read Transparency International reports, it is inundated with, acts of corruption and all that. Please, as a new government, my advice to John Mahama and his team, that they should put their foot down and deal with corruption head on, and then leave something that the state can build on subsequently.
Doc, thank you for your time with us this morning. Thank you for having breakfast with us, and we wish you the best of the day.
I wish you a good day, sir.
All right. And that is Dr. Kwame Asante there. And of course, you also see in your short some interesting stories from myjoyonline.com. You can go on to that portal and check out some of those details. Dr. Kwame Asante is a political scientist. He's also head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Let me just sneak in this bit. Dear Apostle Wolanyo Kofi Agbo, a message that came through. Happy birthday from all of us at Royal House Chapel Spintex Revival. Today we celebrate not only the day you were born, but the profound impact you have made in our lives and in our community. As our head pastor, you have guided us with wisdom and strength. On this special day, we pray that God blesses you abundantly, granting you joy, peace, and renewed strength. With heartfelt blessings, the leadership and congregation of Royal House Chapel Spintex Revival. So, Apostle Wolanyo Kofi Agbo is from your church community. They are wishing you the very best on your birthday. Let me also finally leave you with this. Compu Ghana is celebrating you this Christmas. Now, get the best prices on premium brands like Samsung, LG, TCL, HP, Lenovo, Dell, Midea, NASCO, Tecno, Infinix, Itel, and many more. They have laptops, desktops, printers, TVs, air conditioners, fridges, home theaters, mobile phones, CCTV, and many more. Win instant gifts and cash prizes up to 2,000 Ghana cedis just for answering a question. Can you imagine that? This December, that's what CompuGhana is giving you. Visit your nearest CompuGhana branch nationwide or shop online at www.compughana.com. You can also call them on 0302 752-020 to make inquiries. Well, stay with us. Sports is up next. You don't want to miss it.